Since the inception of my channel, I've received thousands of email offers from companies wanting to send me products so I can give them exposure with a video review. I still get dozens of these emails weekly, and a lot of them don't even have anything to do with fishing. Now, I probably turn down about 95% of these offers that I get, and that's because they're usually not offering something that I'm interested in, because this channel is about reviewing fishing equipment that I find interesting. So when Swellpro contacted me a few months ago wanting to send me a product to review, I did what I normally do. I went to their website, checked out the product, studied it to see if it was something I found interesting, and made my decision. Now with Swellpro, I did have to think a few days about this because the product they offered to send was not in my usual wheelhouse of tackle reviews. I actually told them this, but they said no problem, so they sent me out the Fisherman FD3 Advanced Fishing Drone. Now, I'm not a complete noob when it comes to drones, but I'm far from an expert. My experience with drones has been with the original DJI Mini, and now I have the Mini Pro 3. So needless to say, when the box arrived, I was shocked at the sheer size of it. It was massive, and that's because inside the massive box was a massive foam case. And this is not some cheap styrofoam case. It's very sturdy and felt a lot more dense. So it was obvious this was no DJI Mini. In fact, look at the size difference between the box the Mini came in versus the FD3 case. I was actually almost intimidated. So if you get this drone, do not throw this case away. It's not only for storage, but also for travel. So when I popped open the case and looked inside, I won't lie, intimidation did start to set in. This massive case not only housed a massive drone, but it housed a ton of extra parts. I was starting to think that I was going to have to build this drone like a hobby grade RC car. But don't worry, getting this drone up and running was extremely easy and extremely simple. You just screw on the sculpted shaped propellers onto the correct motors, charge the battery and charge the controller, and that's it. Now, first of all, let's talk about the quality of the drone itself. The drone is apparently fully waterproof. The plastic body is a soft touch material that feels really nice to the touch. And thankfully, the controller is also made of this soft touch material. Now, speaking of the controller, it is absolutely massive. It's bigger than my entire DJI Mini drone. Not only is it huge, it has a lot of buttons and switches. And after skimming some of the manual, indeed all those extra buttons and switches are used for a lot of extra functions. Now luckily it has a built-in screen, so I won't have to use my phone to operate this drone. Now let's talk about these propellers. These propellers are not plastic. They are molded and shaped carbon fiber. Carbon fiber itself is not expensive, but molded carbon fiber is not cheap. Also, the built-in legs of the drone are also carbon fiber. I can only assume that Swellpro chose carbon fiber for its propellers and the leg stands for weight savings. But there's no denying that they look a lot cooler than plastic propellers. Now, since the FD3 uses these massive propellers turned by massive brushless motors, the next massive thing that comes with the drone is the battery. It is so massive that it apparently requires a specialized battery charger. Of course, this battery charger comes standard with the drone, and it's very simple and easy to use. The battery itself is larger and much heavier than my entire DJI Mini 3 Pro. That's because you need a lot of juice to power big motors and big props. In fact, the Fisherman FD3 is a very easy to set up and operate drone. Not quite DJI level of easiness, but it's really not that far off either. So once the drone is assembled, this is what it looks like compared to my Mini 3 Pro. It absolutely dwarfs it. Trust me, this is a plus in my book, and I'll explain why later in the video. But you can clearly see the camera as well as the mechanism that makes this drone special right on the underside. So when I was ready to fly, it was actually very easy. The drone does not require any kind of special software or app to pair it with the controller. It comes pre-paired from the factory. So as soon as you turn both the drone and controller on, they are both automatically paired to each other. So before I took this drone out on the water, of course I did a test flight in a safe open area just to make sure everything was operating correctly. The joysticks function very similar to DJI drones, so that was very familiar. Now here are some, I guess, of the first flying footage I'm going to let you guys watch while I tell you about the Fisherman FD3 Advanced drone and what it's all about. Now this drone is not for getting cinematic aerial footage, but as you can see, it's quite capable of doing that. The camera is capable of video quality up to 4K resolution. But video recording capability is just a plus. The main thing this drone is designed and made for doing is delivering baits and delivering them a long distance away. The main demographic this drone caters to are saltwater anglers fishing from shore who use live or cut bait and need to get their baits way offshore into zones where the fish are that are usually out of the reach of being able to cast there. Now I won't lie, this drone is not cheap. The model they sent me is over $1,800, but I will say they are running a Black Friday special, I believe all month, so you can definitely save some money if you think it's worth it. But after realizing what this drone is capable of, I realized why it commands such a premium price. And that's because it's a premium product. First of all, it has a bait carrying capacity of 4.4 pounds. Now that's bigger than most of you guys' personal best largemouth. It's got a range of 1 mile. It's designed and sealed to be waterproof. And when I say waterproof, I mean salt waterproof. In addition to being salt waterproof, if for some reason the drone falls into the water, it is designed to float. And if it still has some battery power, it can do a water takeoff. Also, if somehow it falls into the water upside down, it can flip itself over and do the water takeoff. Even the controller is designed to be salt waterproof. It's got extremely powerful motors that were obviously designed to fight strong winds that you often encounter on the beach. Now, quick story time. A couple of years ago, I had my first DJI mini drone flying in the air about 60 yards away and about 100 feet up in the air, and I was recording myself test casting a reel. Well, all of a sudden the low battery alarm went off, so of course I tried bringing in the Mini as fast as I could, but then the wind kicked up and my little drone with its little motors and little propellers was struggling to fly back to my location. The wind was literally stalling it in place. Now when I finally got it to about 10 feet away from me, it ran out of power and fell into the water and sunk to the bottom of the lake. So just like that, I lost hundreds of dollars. Now with this Swellpro drone, even if it fell in the water, it would have floated and I would have been able to retrieve it. That's really nice peace of mind when you get one of these. And because of my experience with losing my first DJI Mini, I don't use my Mini 3 for fishing videos anymore. Now I will say this drone is not made for speed or maneuverability. It was designed for power and stability. All those buttons and switches, they are for functions that are well beyond my needs. For example, Swellpro has a GPS app you can download and use with your phone to program bait drop-off spots. That's insane. So with all that being said, what would I, a freshwater fisherman that does not use big pieces of cut bait, have for a drone like this? One of the uses is big swim baits. What you see here is a JACKALL Dunkel 9-inch in great white shark pattern. It's the heaviest bait that I own, coming in at 4.6 ounces. Now since the FD3 has a payload capacity of 4.4 pounds, it didn't even break a sweat with this Dunkel 9. I actually went on Tackle Warehouse to see the weight of the heaviest swim bait they sold, and it was a 22 ounce, absolutely massive Roman made swim bait. Well, the Swellpro FD3 has a payload capacity of 70.4 ounces. So over 3 times more than the heaviest big swim bait that I could find. And I don't know if swim baits get any heavier than that. Another thing I can see people using this drone for is dropping off Alabama rigs. So long as you have enough line capacity on your reel, the FD3 can transport your swim bait or literally any lure way farther than you could ever cast it. And for me, swim baiting is about covering as much water as you can to put your lure in front of as many big fish as possible. Also, the FD3 can carry 2 payloads at one time, and this is how. That device on the bottom of the drone has a bar that slides back and forth, and you control it with one of the switches on the controller. Now, full disclosure, I accidentally left the controller on the roof of my car and drove off. I drove over a mile before it fell off, and by the grace of God, I heard it hit the pavement and bounce a few times. So I turned around and I feared the worst. I thought that the controller would have shattered into several pieces at worst, or had a cracked screen at best. But to my amazement, the controller was still fully functional and only suffered some scratches and one bent switch. The screen still works and all the functions still work. So obviously Swellpro designs their drones to be very rugged and take a lot of abuse. So if you are a serious angler and think this or any other Swellpro drone can take your fishing to the next level, once again, Swellpro are running a Black Friday promotion, and I'll leave a link pinned to the top of the comment section for you so you can go check them out. Now, dropping off big swim baits to cover water is not the only thing I plan to use for the FD3. I'll show you the second thing I plan to use the drone for in the next video I make about it. Alright guys, thanks a lot.